My name is Alice. Um, I'm one of Trainovate instructor. So welcome to this webinar. We are so happy to have you all here. Um, Welcome again to those who were here in attending our last previous webinar. Welcome back. And for those for whom this is the first time, we welcome you and we hope that you will also be able to watch the previous webinars that we had regarding NEBOSH OBE for IGC1. Okay, so the next exam would be on February 3. I'm not sure if all of you will be taking that exam, but we want to wish you good luck. And we hope that this time will be beneficial for each one of you. And we hope that you will all pass the exam. And let's make sure that this time we will um, have better result compared to last batch. Or by the way, last batch in October, Jovi, diba, we have around, I think, 80% passing rate. So we hope this time, guys, please let's make it 100%. Yes, we can do it. Yes? Okay, so let's go straight to the topic of today. Yes, so Jovi is informing me we will have 55 total registered. Okay, so yes, all 55 will pass. Yes, I know we can do it. So for today, we will focus on the OBE for IGC1. Let me share my screen. Just a moment, please. Okay, so our focus is on this NEBOSH IGC1 OBE. For GC2 risk assessment, there will be another webinar. Today we'll only focus on IGC1. So what will be the outline for today? Few things. First, would like to share with you some of the common mistakes that I've noticed in candidates' answer. I mean, being one of NEBOSH examiners, I've marked quite some papers recently, and I've noticed some mistakes that are occurring over and over again. So I would like to share some of them with you guys, so that in your exam you won't make the same mistake. Second is we will look at the question, understanding the question, and we will also look at some sample questions and answers. And of course, as usual, we will give you some time to ask questions. This is I think, the most important part, because the purpose of this webinar is also to be able to address some of your questions before you take the exam on February. So we hope, guys, you had time to review and also you had time to prepare your question. Okay. Um, for my audio, just let me know anytime if you cannot hear me. Jovi, please let me know anytime if there's a problem with my audio. So can you hear me? Is it okay? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. I hear you.
Okay. Okay. So just stop me
Okay,
anytime
ma'am.
if
It's clear,
ever.
ma'am.
Yeah, if ever you can't hear me, just stop me anytime, please. Okay. Okay, so let's go straight. So once again, so this is the outline. We have about not more than 2 hours. If there's no question, like during the last webinar, we only had about 1 hour. So I hope you guys, you prepared your question, because I think this is the most important part, because this is the only chance for us to have, unfortunately, we cannot have the face-to-face session yet because of the pandemic. So this is one of the way for us to be able to address your questions regarding this open book exam. Okay. So first, let's go to item number 1, common mistakes. And by the way, before that, resources. What we will use today, we will focus on those two documents. The first one is the IG1 sample provided by NEBOSH. They provided that one way before we had the first exam. And the second document is the NEBOSH OBE learner feedback. That is actually based on the August 2020 OBE. You can find those two documents on NEBOSH website, and you can actually download them. Jovi also sent the document in the chat box a while ago. So this is where you can find those documents for your references. So go to NEBOSH website, um, OBE, Open Book Exam, go to resources, it's somewhere down there, and then click on sample question paper. So in our case, we'll be focusing on the IGC1, also called IG1. And the other document is the learner feedback, open book exam learner feedback. This is based on August 2020 OBE. And that actually we had a webinar before October exam where we try to go through all the questions in that OBE for August. And I suggest you have a look again. It's available in our YouTube channel. Have a look because we try to address all the questions one by one. And we won't be doing that today because today it's more on general tips. What are the things that you need to look at before you face your exam this February? Okay, so I suggest again, go to the NEBOSH website and download those documents. And there are also other guides, other documents that you have to read before you take the exam. These are very, very helpful. Okay, so common mistake. So based on the papers that I've marked recently, since we started um, this OBE. Okay, someone for Tair, you said you cannot hear me. I don't know, maybe it's on your part. Uh, yeah, try to check your audio again. So common mistake. The first one is misunderstanding of the question. And this is actually not new. Even when we still had the closed book exam, it's still the same thing. Misunderstanding of the question is still the main issue. Um, Even if the exam is open book, even if you have all the resources, if you cannot understand the question properly, then you won't be able to give the right answer. So misunderstanding of the question is still, I think, the most common one. And this could be, I don't know, maybe we are rushing, we are getting excited, maybe due to stress, or maybe it cannot be lack of time because you have 24 hours. So it could be any of those reasons, or maybe just language problem. So this is by far, again, still the main problem in this exam. Irrelevant answers. These two are actually connected. If you don't understand the question, you will provide answers that are not relevant to the question. Okay, so not relevant in what sense? Maybe you are just providing answers that are not related to the question at all, or maybe you are providing answers that are not related to the scenario. Could be both. So these two are connected, and unfortunately, if you don't understand the question, if you provide answers that are not relevant, you won't get the marks, and you won't be able to achieve the passing mark. Um, what else? Insufficient number of answers. This one really break my heart sometimes when I see papers with very nice answer, correct answer, but unfortunately few answers provided. I look at the paper, it's nice, everything is fine, but the answers provided are not enough to get in mark. So this is really sad. Just a reminder, for each question, you have this number between bracket at the end of the question. It indicates the marks assigned for that question, but also the number of information that will be required for you to get the marks. Or in other words, just the number of answers required. So remember, when you say 10 marks, it means you need to provide at least 10 different pieces of information in your answer to get that full 10 marks. So don't forget that. This is really sad when people, good student with good answer, they fail just because they did not provide sufficient number of answers. Okay, and then this one, answers presented in one very long paragraph. This is not actually a mistake. It's just there are cases where the answers are good, but it's one long, very, very long paragraph with 2 pages sometimes, and it does make it really difficult to mark if your answer is one very long paragraph. So just a suggestion, it's not a requirement. There is no clear rule that says answers must not be in a very long paragraph, but just to help the examiners check your paper, try to present it in a nice way, in an easy way to mark. So what you can do is try to separate it in several paragraphs, several short paragraphs. You can also use some bullets with some elaboration. We will see some examples later on. Okay. So these are, I think, the most common mistake. Let's try to look at them one by one and try to address what are the tips that you can use to avoid those common mistakes. Um, so understanding of the question. So two things. Since in this OBE we have a scenario, it's not just a question like what we had before with the closed book exam. You have the question, then you need to understand the question, then read. Here we have an additional information in the form of the scenario. So understanding the question includes understanding also the scenario. So what you must do is you must read the scenario carefully. Take time to read the scenario, highlight important information from the scenario, because in many cases, answers are actually on the scenario already. You just need to understand it. So read the scenario and read the question. So don't rush. Don't rush. Take your time. You have 24 hours to work on it to submit your answer. So read the scenario. Take your time. Try to understand what is the information given to you. Highlight important information, and then read the question. So when you answer the question, go back to the scenario again. Is there any information that you can use from the scenario? So these are very important. So if you look also at the question way before, for the closed book exam, NEBOSH used to have what they call command word, but now there's no command word anymore. But there is something what I would call it what question. These are very straightforward question. It's not that complicated. It's easy to understand. These are questions like, example, what financial arguments could you use to justify your proposed recommendations to segregate forklift trucks and the workers? So this was taken in one of the documents that I just mentioned. So this is very clear. The question is just what financial argument? And of course, you'll have to go back to the scenario. We won't have time to read the entire scenario. Just want to show you some examples of questions. So here it's clear. The question is just asking for financial arguments. And how many? Because of the 10 marks, it means I need to provide at least 10 different information for this one. Other question could be, based on the scenario only, what management failure could have contributed to this accident? So here, they are very, very specific based on the scenario only. So you need to go back to the scenario. It cannot be just going to the course note and looking at the paragraph with the heading management failure and doing a copy paste. It can't be. Why? Because it says based on the scenario only. So you need to go back to the scenario, try to understand and look for management failure from that scenario. So here again, it's very, the question is not that complicated. It's what what management failure? How many? We need 10 based on the scenario. Other question example could be, again, based on the scenario only, what are the likely benefits to the organization of having this formal safety management system? um, of course, I just included part of the question, but in this question, there's a paragraph where they are explaining that you are planning to have ISO 45001 certificate, things like that. So you need to read it as a whole, but I didn't copy paste the entire question. So here again, just want to show you the question is clear. It's a what question? What do we need? We need to talk about benefits. So what are the benefits of having a formal safety management system just like ISO 45001? That is based on the scenario only, and you need to provide 10 benefits, 10 different benefits. Now, that's the what question. So if you go through the document, the sample provided, and then the other one is the August OBE learner feedback. So there are many what questions. Someone mentioned to me that in their exam they also had why questions. Something like why do we need permit to work? But there is also one form of question that I think is the most confusing one. That is the comment question. So what do you mean by comment question? So something like this. And those of you who are on the Trainovate e-learning platform, and if you took the mock exam, you would have seen some of these questions that I'm going to show you now. Based on the scenario only, comment on how effectively this policy has been implemented. So it's not what, the, if we can say that, the command word is now comment. So what does that mean, comment? So that's an example of question with comment. What else? Based on the scenario only, comment on the current health and safety culture in the company, 15 mark. Based on the evidence from the scenario only, comment on how the organization is performing in the following areas. And then there are several points mentioned here. So this, I think, is one of the most confusing questions when I look at the paper, because we don't understand, what do you mean by comment? What does that mean? What am I supposed to write in my answer? So comment. So yeah, so I tried to research what does that mean, comment? What are we supposed to do when the question is asking us to comment? Of course, we know this, being social media users, at some point you did comment in your friend's post or pictures, or comment is there's a picture or there's a post, there's an article, and then you comment whether you like it. What do you think about it? So it's exactly the same thing. So comment is actually stating your opinion. So stating your opinion. But this comment must be based on something. As if you may have noticed, in all of the question with comment, it's always based on the scenario, based on the scenario, or based on the evidence. So what you need to do is read the scenario and then comment. What do you think about it? State your opinion. So what you need to do, it's not just stating my opinion like, okay, if I go back to the question, for example, that says comment on the health and safety culture, I cannot just comment and say health and safety culture is poor or negative or positive and that's it. No, you need also to give examples and arguments that support your opinion. So comment means state your opinion. For example, health and safety culture is poor or positive, and then give examples and argument. Where are you going to find that? From the scenario. So you need to read the scenario, get information from the scenario that supports your answer. Why do you say that the health and safety culture is poor? Why do you say that the health and safety culture is negative, is positive? Why? You need then to get arguments or information from the scenario to support your information, your answer. This definition, by the way, I checked it. It's somewhere in a website called English Grammar Online. So when you say comment, state your opinion and give examples and arguments that support your opinion. So example. So let's go back to this question. So this is one from the sample provided by NEBOSH. Question number 5. So based on the scenario only, comment on the current health and safety culture in the company. So of course, we did not go through the scenario. You cannot answer this question without knowing the scenario first. So instead of going through the answers, let's just look at the steps. How are you going to answer this question? So the first thing to do is then to read the scenario carefully. Try to understand the scenario again, because the question says based on the scenario only. So you need to know the scenario. So you need to read the scenario carefully. Then comment whether the safety culture is positive or negative, or could be both. I mean, you could say it's positive, but it's, I mean, there is something good, however, there is something not good because of this and this and that. So comment, state your opinion. What do you think about the health and safety culture based on the information that you've read on the scenario? And then provide arguments from the scenario to support your answer. For example, you will mention there's a lack of management commitment. Why? Why are you saying that? What made you say that? So go back to the scenario and then provide arguments like because the management is not providing resources, because there is no light on the parking area, for example. The scenario mentioned something like that. So you need to provide arguments that supports your answer. So it's not just about, because the tendency is to look at the question, it's about health and safety culture, and then I know it's poor, so I'm going to the course note on the page where it talks about health, poor indicator of health and safety culture, and then I'm just going to do a copy paste of that. No, it doesn't work. Why? Because you need to refer to the scenario. So go back to the scenario and then analyze the scenario, provide argument. Lack of management commitment because of then mention information from the scenario that tells you that there's lack of management commitment in that company. Okay, and provide sufficient number of answers. So 15 marks means you'll have to provide at least 15 different information, pieces of information to get that full 15 marks. and write your answer in bullet form with elaboration, or it doesn't have to be bullet form, paragraph, but divide it into short paragraph. Don't just put everything in one very long paragraph. It's very, very hard to check. Okay, it makes it easier on your side as well, because you will be able to see quickly what are the points that you already mentioned, what are the points that should be added, and so on. Okay, so another question still about this comment. The question says, this is from the sample provided by NEBOSH. Task number 3, effective health and safety policy arrangements. Question number 3, the contract manager tries to reassure the health and safety committee that the company has an adequate statement of general policy for health and safety. Copies of the policy are shown to the committee, see below. So here's the policy. If you are on the e-learning platform, you should be familiar with this question. Okay, so based on the scenario only, again, because it's comment is always based on the scenario. Comment on how effectively this policy has been implemented. So I look at the policy and then I need to comment whether this policy or all the points listed here have been effectively implemented. The best way or the easiest way to do that is just to take the points one by one. Preventing accident. Was this implemented or not? No. Why? Get the information from the scenario. Investigating accident and near misses. Was this done or not? No. Why? Because many near misses happened before and they were not recorded, they were not investigated. There is some information about that in the scenario. And so on. Providing safe and healthy working condition. No. Why? Because there's some problem in the parking area, no proper lighting, not enough space for all their moving equipment. What else? Meeting legal requirement. Was this done? No, because there is actually a breach of law because the company did not communicate the policy as required. Something like posting it on the notice board was not properly done. Anyway, um, check the document. It's available on the NEBOSH website if you want to know more about this question. We don't have time to go through all the scenarios and all the answers, but here the purpose of today is to understand how to answer the question. So comment on how effectively this policy has been implemented. Just go through the points one by one and then comment. And it's 10 marks. So you will have more than 10 marks if you just, you will have more than 10 information if you just go through all these points one by one and then comment whether they were effectively implemented or not. Common mistake is some people will just provide a short answer to say that uh, the policy was not effectively implemented, and that's it. So where is the 10 marks on that? So 10 marks means you need to provide more longer answer than that. So the easiest way is just to go through these points one by one and then to comment whether they were effectively implemented or not, using information from the scenario to support your answer. So that's comment. So I hope now we understand it a little bit more. So comment is stating your opinion and then using arguments to support your opinion. Okay. So another kind of question, this one is the improving formal consultation. One of the most misunderstood questions from our mock exam on the e-learning platform. This is task number 4. It says the Health and Safety Committee now look at consultation within the company. What formal meetings could you plan that are likely to help improve consultation in this workplace? So it's a what question, just what. So if we analyze the question, what meetings, what formal meetings in order to improve consultation. And it's 5 marks, meaning you'll have to provide at least 5 different type of formal meeting to get that 5 marks. So what do you think are example of irrelevant answers in this one? Irrelevant answers, the tendency, some of the answers that I've seen is some people would define what is consultation. That is not required. You won't get any marks from that. Because that's also the problem with irrelevant answer. It gives you a false sense of security because you look at your answer, it's quite long, it's very, very long, and you're happy because you think you'll get the mark, the full mark, because you provided quite a long answer. But maybe your answer is not relevant to the question because you did not answer the question. So definition of consultation will not help. Difference between consultation and information will not help either. Some people would like to talk about why is consultation important. So they provide very, very long answer, different reasons why employer should consult with their employees. And some people talk about what to consult with employees. Like they talk about what would be the agenda of a meeting. So they mention risk assessment, training, all these different topics that should be consulted with employee. But none of those answer actually the question because the question is just clear what formal meeting. So what do you think would be a possible formal meeting? Okay, I want to hear from you. Please type your answer in the chat box. What are possible answer for this one? Okay, so let's check the chat box. HSC committee meeting. Okay. Safety weekly meeting. Okay. Okay, what else? So far, we only have two. Monthly meeting, toolbox meeting. Yeah. Okay. Town hall meeting. Okay, good. Yes. Management review. Okay, good. Now, so because we can put here weekly meeting, we can put monthly meeting, but we need to make a difference. What is weekly? What is monthly? So therefore, a little bit of elaboration is required here. You cannot just list down weekly, monthly, daily. When you say, for example, kickoff meeting, that's good. Progress meeting, that's good. But what is that? What is it about? How does it help in consultation? So I would elaborate a little bit. So when you say periodic meeting, for example, what is that? Who will attend? First of all, that's important. And then what is the purpose of the meeting, or what's basically the objective of the meeting? Something like that. Just to make the difference between the daily meeting and the weekly meeting and the monthly meeting. Now, monthly meeting could be maybe the entire company, but maybe daily meeting is just the supervisor with his worker, something like that. So these are all correct, but to make sure it's clear, we need to at least elaborate mentioning monthly meeting. This is a meeting attended by the entire company, and then where all the safety concern will be discussed, or previous accident or statistic or something like that. And the concern from the employees will be discussed, something like that. So these are all correct, and then put some elaboration. What to put in the elaboration? Mention who will attend it and what's the purpose of the meeting. Because toolbox meeting, the purpose of toolbox meeting will be different from the purpose of a weekly meeting or monthly meeting, right? So just that. Okay, good. Now, things like when you look at consultation, we also talk about communication first. So communication, and then we see there's consultation, there's information. And then the tendency is to think about consultation now, emails, posters, video. No, these are not meetings. We do not answer the question. So the question says formal meeting. So we need to mention the monthly meeting, management meeting, M&R meeting. I don't know what is that, but you can get the mark if you elaborate that quickly, correctly. So toolbox meeting, town hall meeting, HSC committee meeting, these are all correct. All right. Okay, so next. Okay, another question. Let's go through this other question. Um, this is from August 2020. Task number 4, working with a health and safety management system. So that's it gives you an idea about the topic for the question. So when they say working with health and safety management system, then you know, yeah, that's under element 2. So I need to go to element 2 because that's where we discuss about the health and safety management system. So to satisfy the expectation of the inspector, you have developed a formal safety management system in line with ISO 45001. So based on the scenario only, what are the likely benefits to the organization of having this formal safety management system? So see, I underlined based on the scenario only. Why? Because when you see again, it's a what question, it's just asking for benefits. The tendency again is just to do a quick research, benefit of having ISO 45001. Do a Google research, you'll have an answer, and then you do a copy paste. You can get some of the answer correct, but not all of them because it says here based on the scenario only. Same thing, just go into the manual and then looking at the paragraph mentioning benefits of having ISO 45001 and then doing this copy paste will not work. You won't get a good mark because most of these answers are very general. It's not really specific. So what we need here is something that is based on the scenario only. Ah, irrelevant answers again. What are the things that will not be included here? For example, if you talk about ISO 45001, what is it? Some people like to define it. Some people like to talk about the history. When was it signed or issued rather, not signed? Um, and then things like that. Some people mention the PDCA principle, sorry for the typo error. And some people even talk about the key elements of health and safety management system. Why? Because probably because you look at the question and you see the word safety management system. So automatically what comes into mind is key elements of health and safety management system, and then you list everything, policy, organizing, and so on and so on. So this is not correct because those are not the benefits. The question is just benefits of having a formal safety management system. So in this case, you cannot talk about the key elements. You cannot talk about the plan to check and act. You cannot talk about the history of ISO 45001. You need to focus on the benefit. And you cannot just do this Google research and then do a copy paste. You need to base it still on the scenario. I'm not saying researching is not required. You still need to do research, but then once you get an answer from your research, you need to tailor it to the given scenario. Okay, so possible answers. These answers, you will see this in the document, this learner feedback. They provided some of the answers. So external recognition. So we see here it's about credibility of the company will be increased. We also talk about improving morale. And see, this is one way you can present your answer. For those of you who are familiar with the closed book exam, there is a command word called outline. And the way we present the outline is something like this. There's like a headings and then you elaborate. You can do the same thing. The idea is just to separate your answer in different short paragraphs to make it easier to check. Okay, so these are some possible answers. So the credibility of the company will be increased and the moral of the staff also will be improved. What else? Improving compliance with legal requirement. It will help prevent things like formal order. This one, like it will prevent having fines and prosecutions and the notices from enforcement agency. It will also help improve relationship with the labor inspector. This is because actually in the scenario, it says there that the labor inspector went to the site, inspected the company, and it was actually the labor inspector who suggested that the company should have a formal health and safety management system. So this is why we say that one of the benefit would be the labor inspector will be happy because you actually followed the advice and then it will improve the relationship. So see, it's tailored to the scenario. And improving management commitment, leadership will be more visible and proper resources will be allocated. Why again? Because in the scenario, it says that there is an information mentioning that the management are not visible on site and resources are not allocated properly, something like that. So try to combine your answer. For example, this will actually gain you different marks. There's one mark for the management, improving management commitment. There's another mark for the visibility of the leadership. There is another mark for the resources. So I'm just combining the answer here. This is something you can do. Just don't put everything in one very long paragraph. That's it. So these three I can separate it in different bullet, but I decided to combine it here. But that's also okay, as long as you don't put everything in one very long paragraph, because again, it's really hard to check on the examiner's part. Okay, so these are just possible answers. Um, for more possible answers, again, go back to that webinar that we had last before the exam for October, uh, where we actually had the discussion. I showed the question and then you were giving your answer for the chat box. So go back to that one if you want to know more about the answer for these questions. Okay. Another question, task number 5. This is from the August 2020 OBE. This is about health and safety culture. And the question is to improve performance in the organization. You know that you need to positively influence health and safety culture. You feel the culture at the warehouse is currently negative. So question, what are the negative indicators of safety culture in the warehouse? Very clear. It's what negative indicators, and it's not negative indicators in your company, it's not negative indicator in general. We are here focusing on the given scenario on the warehouse. So 10 marks means you need to actually at least provide 10 different indicators. So possible answers, so accident and incident, complaints. So here under accident and incident, we are talking about frequent near misses and accident and incident. The near misses and incident are not being reported, which means that their root cause cannot be identified and risk cannot be controlled. So see, although it's one bullet with elaboration, you could actually get more than 1 marks here. Why am I saying that? Because there are different information mentioned here. It's one thing to have frequent near miss accident and incident, but also the fact that they are not being reported, that's also another indicator. So we have actually 2 indicators here. One indicator is the number of accident, incident, and near misses, and the other indicator is they are not recorded. So you can have this system of having bullet paragraph, but have more than one pieces of information in one bullet. Okay, so management are rarely seen in the warehouse, which shows a lack of visibility. The complaints, that's also one indicator, but I see many information here. So many complaints, that's one indicator of negative health and safety culture. So there are so many complaints. What else? The complaints are not written, they are not recorded. That's also another indicator. And then finally, organization is not listening to the worker. That is also another indicator. So actually we had 3 indicator in this one short paragraph. It was just combined. So you can also do that. Okay, what else? Okay, final tips. So let me just go through the chat first before we go through the final tips. Okay, in basing it from Andy, in basing it in the scenario, the answer here will be specific, like less accident in the parking lot, like that. Yes, okay. If we cannot give 10 answer, is it okay as long as the answer is in bullet and explain? If you cannot give 10 answer, then your mark will also be reduced. You won't be able to get the 10 marks. But like I said, when I say 10 answer, it could be like what we had. It's not really 10 paragraph like this, because in one paragraph, like this one complaint, there is a lot of information here. So you have actually 3 answers already in this. Under the accident and incident, we have actually 2 informations already. So I have 5 answers, but I divided it in 2 bullets, something like that. Um, the point is you need to make sure that you have 10 different indicator in this case in order for you to be able to get the 10 marks. So 10 different indicators of negative health and safety culture in order for you to get the 10 marks for this question. So one indicator is the number of near misses, the fact that they are not recorded or reported rather. for the complaint, and number of complaints are increasing, and the complaints are not recorded, and organization are not listening. Those are different indicators. So just remember that marks assigned to the question indicates the number of answers that you need to provide, or the number of information that you need to provide. How are you going to present that? You can do it in bullet, or you can do it in small paragraph combined like what we have here. As long as, again, you don't put everything in one very long paragraph. Okay, other question. In any doubt, it's okay to write more. Write more, provide more. If they ask for 10 answer, provide more than 10, just to be safe. As long as it's relevant to the question, you can provide more. And besides, you have 24 hours. You have more than enough time for that. Okay. What else? Do we have to give answers according to the number of marks? Yes. Yes. 10 answer. Yes. Okay, so we will have a Q&A session shortly. Let me just go through the last slide. This is just a summary, the final tips. It was just a short presentation because, again, what we want to focus on is answering your question. So we'll go through that quickly. So final tips. Read the scenario carefully. I always repeat this over and over again. Read scenario, read the question. This is to prevent any misunderstanding and prevent any irrelevant answer. Provide sufficient number of answer, also important. Divide your answer in several short paragraph, or you can use bullet points. Do not wait till the last minute to submit your answer. Also very important. Last October, we actually had, not just October, also in August, we had a case where someone was marked absent because they did not submit on time. They were late in the submission, so they were absent. So don't wait till the very last minute. You never know. Maybe there will be some connection problem. So maybe 1 hour before would be okay. Don't wait like 1 minute before the deadline. What else? Research. Don't panic. You have 24 hours. Read, take your time, then write your answer. Follow the instruction. For example, there are instructions with regards to how you name your file, because uh, all of this information will be on the question paper, by the way. So there are instructions how you should name your file, how to download your not download, upload your file in a PDF or Word format. What else? Read the guides. There are guidance when it comes to how we're going to access the learning platform of NEBOSH, how we're going to change your password, for example, things like that. There are guidance provided by NEBOSH for those. So read those ahead of the time so that on the day of the exam, there'll be less stress on your side. Okay. So what else? Yes, the deadline is UK time. So that's it for the presentation. Now let's go back to the question and answer part. So let me stop share. If you have any question, please do type on the chat box and we will answer them one by one. So deadline is UK time. Yes, UK time. What time is the exam? 4 p.m. in the Philippines. Okay, last time there was like a time issue. But hopefully there won't be any problem this time for February. It will be mentioned. Exam is 4 p.m. in the Philippines, 9 p.m. In the UK. The deadline is UK. Yeah, so deadline you need to count 24 hours. So if you start the exam today at 4 p.m., deadline is 4 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, so start the exam February 3, 4 p.m. So deadline is February 4, 4 p.m. Okay, the BST time, yeah, last time there was an issue whether the BST is 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. in the Philippines. We will make sure to communicate this ahead. We will clarify if it's 4 or 5, and we will communicate that to all the students taking the exam ahead. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, the only difference in the all type of exam is that you need to be specific according to the scenario. Yes, that's the difference between the closed book and open book. So open book, there's a scenario. So NEBOSH will never give you a question where the answer is just online or in your manual. They will never give you that question. They give you questions specific on a scenario so that you can use the information you've just researched, use it and apply it on the given scenario. And most of the time, the scenario is actually, things that you could also face in the workplace. Think about it as real life scenario. And I remember someone told me before, he said during the exam, he really enjoyed it because it was challenging and it was like a real work. So I hope you will also enjoy the exam. Think about it again as a real life scenario, things that you could actually face if you are working as a health and safety professional. Okay. What about the exit interview? Exit interview, we call it closing interview. Closing interview is one of NEBOSH way to make sure that there is no malpractice. Malpractice in what way? Make sure that the answer that you've provided is actually your own. You did not get help from anyone else, or you did not pay someone else to take the exam in your place. So how do we make sure of that? There is a closing interview where an interviewer will be reading your paper, reading your answer, and then asking you specific questions regarding your answer. So in a closing interview is your opportunity to actually demonstrate that you understand what you wrote and it's your own answer. When is the closing interview? It is scheduled usually 5 days after the exam, and Trainovate will communicate to you with regards to the schedule. So not more than 20 minutes, 15 minutes, not more than 15 minutes per person, and we will be communicating with you with regards to the schedule for the closing interview. Okay, 3,000 word. Yes, 3,000 word is the recommended word count, maximum word count for the entire exam. So this is an indication for you just to say that you do not have to submit a book. 3,000 word is the recommended word count. So you can exceed a little bit, but not 4,000, not 5,000, 3,100, 3,300 should be okay. It's a recommended word count. Okay, so when will be the interview? Before that, the 3,000 word count is for the entire exam, for the entire question. Question could be 10 questions, 8 questions. Last time I think it was only 7 questions. So the 100 marks in total will be divided in those 8 questions or 7 questions or 10 questions. So maximum number of marks per question that I've seen, the highest I've seen so far is 20. So there are questions which requires you to provide 20 different answers. So yeah, and read the scenario because most of the time answers are actually in the scenario. When will be the interview? We will communicate with you with regards to the interview. Jovi or someone from Trainovate will communicate, but usually that's 5 days after the exam or 1 week after the exam. Can we open our own work during the interview? Yes. Yes, you can have your own work. That's it. You're not allowed to have anything else. You are not allowed to have any other resources. You are not allowed to have anyone else with you during the closing interview. It should be done in a room, closed room, without anyone else near you or could be helping you. Okay. Okay, regarding IG1 exam, don't we need to use element 5 and 11 of the book? The coverage or the scope for the IG1 exam is element 1, 2, element 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about the health and safety management system. Yes, so you can actually do that, like focus on the 4 elements first, then take the exam, and then 4 elements, remaining elements, only do that after you completed your exam. You can do that. But I think the opposite will be difficult, meaning you really have to study element 1, 2, 3, 4 before you can also complete your GC2 risk assessment. So you can focus on element 1, 2, 3, 4, then take IG1 exam. But you cannot complete IG2 risk assessment without completing the element 1, 2, 3, 4 till the entire training before you can take a risk assessment. Okay, is in the sample question paper you send, instruction is start each answer on a new page. Does it mean that for question like 1A, B, C answers will be written in 3 different pages? I don't know what sample question is this, but do not worry. There is an answer template provided by NEBOSH. So on the day of the exam, when the exam is starting, you will be able to download the question paper. You will also download an answer template. What is the answer template? It's just a Word document where you have the questions written already and you have sections where you need to write your answer. So you don't need to think about, is it going to be starting on a new page or not? Just follow the answer template that will be provided by NEBOSH. Okay, how does the interview go? So the closing interview, training provider will be assigning an interviewer internal to do the interview. And then this is conducted usually through Zoom. And interviewer will start by just introducing him or herself and then making sure that you are alone in the room. You don't have any unauthorized material with you, and then interviewer will go through your paper and then asking you some questions, 3 or 4 questions regarding your answers, and then that's it. So it's actually quite fast, maybe 15 minutes maximum, 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, can you share to us the presentation? I mean this one this will be available in the. Maybe Jovi can answer that. This usually we make the presentation available in the YouTube channel. Um, I don't know. I mean, you mean the PowerPoint? Send it to you. I don't know how am I going to send that. Okay, we'll see. But anyway, at least this will be available. This presentation will be available on our YouTube channel for you to review it again. Okay. Or through Zoom. Wait, maybe I can do that later. Okay, send the PowerPoint through chat box later. Okay, when can we receive our IG2 registration and confirmation? Maybe Jovi can answer this one. When can we receive our IGC2 registration and confirmation?
For na ma'am, there is confirmation, the registration confirmation.
Okay, it was cut. We did not get the answer, but maybe Jovi can go back to that question later before I finish. Okay, there is no change in the risk assessment. Like for us who only have deficiencies on the risk assessment. What do you mean change? Um, Change. There is a new form of risk assessment issued by NEBOSH. That was the purpose of our last webinar for IGC2. It's available in Trainovate YouTube channel. Please check that again. The title is Update Risk Assessment Form. That's the only change. It's just the form. The content is still the same. So for those of you who will retake, the content is the same. The form or the way you will present your answer is the only change. Okay. When can we receive the OBE platform for familiarization? I can't remember. 3 days before, I think. Jovi, is it 3 days before or 1 week before? When you will get an email from NEBOSH once you are registered, and then you'll also get another email from NEBOSH giving you a username and password for the OBE platform for you to be familiar with it. When is it? 3 days before, 1 week before? I forgot. Jovi, can you confirm? When are they going to receive the email from NEBOSH regarding the link for the exam platform?
1 week before the exam.
1 week before. Yeah, that should be more than enough. 8 days before. Thank you, Mark. Okay. Can we make the IGC2 risk assessment ahead? Yes, yes, you may. No problem. Okay, for the IG2 specific legal arguments, is it okay to copy the exact words from an ILO convention, or should I revise it? Just copy it as it is. No need to rephrase, no need to revise. It's okay to copy. According to ILO convention, blah, 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 blah. It's okay. Okay, what else? Okay, for the risk assessment, IG2, do we need to send it to you for check-in? The answer is no. Unfortunately, the rule stays the same. Instructors or tutors are not allowed to pre-check your risk assessment before submission. So no, you cannot send it to training provider for pre-check or pre-mark before you submit. You can ask question though. Do not just send to us your risk assessment, because we cannot do that. That's a malpractice. Once you send to us, that's final. When is the submission for IG2? Maybe Jovi can answer that one. Jovi, submission? Do we have a submission date?
The deadline is on February 5.
February 5,
Yes,
midnight? Is it midnight?
until midnight, ma'am.
Yes, so February 5 till midnight. That's the submission. Submission is in PDF. Okay, what else? And after you submit, give us some time, or give Jovi some time to receive all the risk assessment, and then she will send an acknowledgement email to make sure to inform you that we received your risk assessment. Just give her some time. Yes, February 5, midnight, Philippine time. There is no IG2 confirmation, right, Jovi? They will receive an email from NEBOSH for the confirmation for the OBE exam, but for the risk assessment, there's none.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. Okay, any other question? So feel free to contact if you have questions regarding the risk assessment. Um, Contact me on Facebook Messenger, or send me an email if you want. Don't just send your risk assessment to me. Can we send it ahead of time? Jovi, can they set the risk assessment ahead of time? Jovi is the one handling the submission, so let's ask Jovi. It's
Yes,
okay
ma'am. They
to.
can do that.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you can send it ahead of time. Okay, in my first IG2 exam using old form, the mistake was the methodology used. Should I only concentrate only on that part? Yeah, look at the feedback provided to you, because if you fail, assessors who usually provides feedback. Look at the feedbacks and then focus on those areas. Okay, so yeah, so Jovi sent a message regarding submission, including what is the email address for submission. So it's there. E-learning at trainovate.com. Remember, PDF file.
당신 거 뭐야 충전에 그거 안 돼 있나? 충전 안 돼 있나?
Yes. Okay, any other questions regarding IGC1? I don't know, probably we'll have another webinar for IGC2 before February 5. So, do we have question for IGC1? Are you ready for your exam? Thumbs up? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Okay, yes, you can do it. Ah, okay, so question again about IGC2, okay? In methodology, can I still put ILO code of practice link? Yes, you can use that as a source of information. Last date of risk assessment submission confirmed February 5. Yes, yes. Okay, so there's a lot of yes. I think those are the answers to the question. Are you ready? Yes, you can do this. You can do it. So remember, Last batch, we had a passing rate of 80%. So we expect more for this batch. You can do it. Last batch was 37 students and 30 passed out of 37. So you will be 50 something, 52, 53,
55, ma'am.
55. So we hope all the 55 will pass. You can do it. Yes, you can do it. Okay, any other questions? If there's no question, then I think we will end.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there's another question. Can I mention ILO or do I need to be specific, such as convention, etc.? Yes, Domingo, you have to be specific. Because remember, in the new form, you'll have to mention specific legal requirement for each actions that you selected. So it must be specific. For example, if the action is referring to, I don't know, equipment. So look at some ILO convention that says something about equipment. If it's about chemical, then look at ILO convention or recommendation or any other ILO document. It doesn't have to be only convention. It could be recommendation or codes of practices. So it must be specific. Okay. Anything else? Last chance. Jovi, do we have anything? Do you have any announcement?
May I ask if they can open their camera and take a picture?
Okay. Yun na bold na question. Okay, where can we find the legal requirement in ILO site? Yeah, ILO website. Quick research. Google it, ILO.org or something like that. It's easy to find. Do some research. Go to the ILO website and you will see. Yeah, the different legal requirements. So you'll really have to do some research. Can you use the British HSE? Where? Which part? It depends. Because if you're going to use that under part 1, risk assessment methodology, as a source of information that helped you to do the risk assessment, that's fine. But if you're going to use that as a specific legal argument under part 3, as justification for the actions that were selected, that's not okay. It has to be ILO. So under part 1, British HSC, that's okay. Under part 3, no, it's not okay. We need ILO. Okay, picture time. Let's have a family picture.
Okay, ma'am, we will take a picture. Can they open your all cameras?
Bye.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. One more. Okay, 1, 2. Thank you.
Okay, so we want to thank you all for attending the webinar today. We wish you good luck in your exam. And again, don't hesitate to contact us. Contact me, Facebook, on the e-learning platform, or also email if you have questions. Don't just contact me on the day of the exam. That is not allowed. So before the exam, you can still contact, but on the day of the exam, unfortunately, you cannot contact the training provider. All right. And good luck. You can do it. Don't panic. Read question. Just think. Have fun and enjoy. You can do it. I believe in you. Okay. So thank you so much. See you in our next presentation. Okay. Let me see if I'm going to send it now in the chat box. The PowerPoint that we had. Okay. Let me just a moment. So sending file and just a minute. I'm looking for it. Wait. Where did I put it? Yeah. Okay, so January 23. Oh, this is the correct one. Up, sent. Okay, but again, much better to really read the document, the original document. Okay. Okay, and also for the student e-learning, if you want to practice, send me your answer for feedback. It's still okay. Send it to me through email. If you want to practice some more before the exam, send me your answers. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, and see you in our next webinar. So good luck, everyone. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
Yes. Salamat. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good luck,
Alice,
good luck
Ma'am
sa lahat.
Joby.
Thank you, Ma'am.
Good luck sa
Good luck
atin
sa lahat.
lahat,
Ha?
guys. Good luck.
Best of luck.
God bless us all.
Everyone, God bless. God bless.
We need to pass, everyone.
Can do it.
Walang
You
bumagsak.
can do it.
Thank you.
Yes, we can. We can pass it.